this a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it.
And this a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it. And this a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it. Ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it. It's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it.
This a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it.
And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it. Ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it. Talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
Welcome everybody to she bring me in. All right. And I'm having a little technical difficulties. Thank you everybody. Welcome to another episode of Head to Head with Brian Parker. My internet is acting absolutely crazy, Lori. I don't know if you can see me, but I can't really see y'all moving too much. Hopefully it'll correct itself, but I'm gonna assume, because I'm looking at myself, that I am streaming correctly. Thank you everybody for joining us for another episode of Head to Head with Brian Parker. I am Heat. And we are back for another week of technical demons, it seems. We are streaming live and direct on LinkedIn, Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook Live, as well as YouTube. Like, share, and subscribe, please. And make sure we are on our drive to 10,000 followers. Not remotely there yet, but you got to have a dream, right? So please make sure that you check out our YouTube page and go there. Make sure that you click on the bell as well. It will always alert you to let you know anytime new content has been posted. Also, check out some of my hot rants on there as well, as I give you a little bit more on the side after the show. And sometimes we also put clips of the show in there as well. All right. How we doing, Lori?
Doing great, doing great.
All
You
right,
are
that's
kind of
good.
a little over, you're a little moving slow. So again, it's the white van. It's going.
I don't know what it is. I mean, pre-show, everything was fine.
Well, I can talk about I can talk about our service provider, but I don't know.
No. If you're down in the Carolinas and you have Spectrum, God bless you. They totally do suck. Um, maybe I shouldn't say that they'll probably go ahead and kick me off now, for real, for real. But yeah, it's it's pretty, it's terrible, man. You never know. You know, what was it 2 weeks ago? We were on in the middle of the show, and all the power went out on our block. So we had to cancel the show for that, and yeah, it just kind of seems like the internet gods are just acting crazy. I've been working all day from home and had not had any issues with the internet, so it's just kind of crazy. So I don't know. Anyway, we'll get started. We have a special guest coming up in just a second. I see that she has made it in. See you. Um. Anyway, and but before we get started, just got let you guys know CJ's not going to be able to make it today. Not sure if the franchise is going to be able to pop in, but those guys have been pretty busy. But and both of them have been served in military and things like that. I know right now we just recently had a really really terrible shooting here in the Charlotte area, where four officers actually uh, lost their lives just trying to serve a warrant to someone in a neighborhood, quite coincidentally, that I used to stay in Charlotte some years ago. So it was kind of surreal for me to see all of that unfold on the news, where they were just trying to serve a warrant apparently, and apparently the guy was shooting from upstairs at a different vantage point, was able to take a couple of officers out and injure several more. So our thoughts and our prayers are definitely with the families that were all affected by that, and with that neighborhood who really is probably reeling right now in fear, just wondering what's going on in that neighborhood. A neighborhood that, like I said, I grew up in, not grew up in, but I lived in for a while, and it was actually pretty quiet. So it's kind of crazy to see them getting all that attention now, Lori, just because of somebody just deciding to shoot. Hi. Okay. I see all of y'all. Hi there. Okay. Anyway, before we bring in our guest, just wanted to open up, and Lori, we'll do what we did last week, um, where I'll redo the Instagram, because Instagram for some reason only streams for an hour for me on this platform, so I have to reset it at the top of the hour. During that reset, we'll probably do 3 straight commercials to give me time to do that, uh, almost like a wardrobe change. But we do want to open up and let everyone know, because we are streaming live on so many different platforms. If you would love to partner with us, advertise your business, advertise any events that you have going on. I know our next guest always has things going on, whether it's comedy clubs, different films, and things like that. We'll definitely let you guys know what's going on with all of those things on all of our platforms. Um, so any kind of advertising that you want to do, reach out to us, send us a direct message here, or you can email us at theparkermedia@gmail.com. And Lori, let's just give them a little taste of what that looks like. How about a little bit of B.O. Parker Realty? Buying a home is one of the biggest decisions that you'll make. Here at Jermaine Parker Realty, we're here to help you navigate through that process. We know that a home is more than just a place to live. It creates memories. Here at Jermaine Parker Realty, we're here to help. Give us a call and let us get started on your journey. Okay. Bear with me 1 second.
Okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to try to kind of bring up in the
You're
show.
good.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Am I moving okay?
You're moving all right. You're moving good.
How about now?
All right there. I see you're going to try to do the Dougie. I get it. Go ahead. Okay. Thank you. We don't need you. All right.
Okay. I don't know what's going on.
You don't need to be a private dancer.
I see. This is why you have a backup. I literally have 2 computers side by side. So when one starts to act like a fool, I got the other one.
Okay. Well.
All right. Now when this one starts acting like a fool, I go back to the other one. See, that's how I do my women too, Lori.
Okay.
When my main one act like a fool, I go see this. No, I'm just kidding. That's a whole nother show. That's a head-to-head after hours. So anyway, I want to bring in our next guest. This is a true friend of mine, and I reached out to her because I knew she was taking classes at Columbia University, and I know in the news we've been seeing all these things about encampments going around at all those schools and universities. With the background of protest to everything that's going on between Israel and Hamas, and Palestinians getting caught up in all of that over there. But I just kind of wanted to get a different feel for what Christine was seeing was going on. So I wanted to bring her in and chat with Christine for a while. So Lori, please bring in man, Christine got so many jobs and so many titles. She gonna probably have to tell you all of them, because I will mess it up, miss them all. But this girl is an actor, comedian, journalist, owner, host of Badass Lady Folk, Quail Bell Magazine, World of Christine Stoddard. Yeah. Anyway, bring her on and she'll tell you all the other stuff. There she is.
Hi there. Hi, Brian. Hi, Lori. Thanks for having me on.
What is happening? How you doing?
I am frazzled. It has been such an intense couple of weeks. And I'm not even an undergrad. It's not like I live at Columbia, right? I'm an adult. I have my own life. It has just been wild over there. And
I mean, what is it like walking past and seeing all these tents and barricades and all this stuff going on?
Yeah, so I have not been on campus since Monday.
Okay.
Let's see. So 2 Thursdays ago, I had my last class on campus. And that had been scheduled at the beginning of the semester. Our professors, it was co-taught by two different folks. One is a theater artist and one is a creative writer and literary magazine manager. And they collaborate on different things. Anyway, so it was co-taught. And I remember my classmate who was staying with me because she lives in Philly and normally commutes. She and I got there to class extra early because everyone or half of the class was presenting their final projects. We get off the subway and were immediately confronted by NYPD in riot gear. They're all lined up along the edge of, I cannot remember the name of that theater building right now, but they're just there. So you round the corner as you get off the subway and it's impossible not to run into them, almost literally run into them. And at that point, you know, they have their phones out, they're playing Candy Crush, they're drinking their Dunkin' Donuts. Things haven't gotten serious yet.
Right.
So she and I, my classmate Bernadette and I go to class, we set up, we're ready for the performances, the videos, everything that our classmates are going to be showing, things that we're sharing. Our professors get there late, about 10 minutes late. And it makes sense because only one gate for all of campus was open.
Oh, wow.
And everyone had to swipe their IDs one by one. And of course, there are people who didn't have their IDs. There are people who need to pull up a photo on their phone, show some other evidence that they're a current student so that holds up the line. Eventually, we get going. And at that point, I would have to verify exactly when the tents went up, but the tents had been up by then. So by then, we were already used to the sight of the tents. It's not like they were all over campus. They were confined to one lawn, and it is part of the main, like the center of campus. But things, I have seen some statements about it being all willy-nilly. No, it was pretty organized and self-contained. So we finish up class and class is long, so it gets out about 1 o'clock. And at that point, I have to go run to do the next thing because, like you said, I'm doing everything, right? So I'm leaving campus because I already have 2 other appointments that I have to run off to. Even by that point, I can feel the difference since the morning, just how much more tense it is, how much more alert the police officers all are. And it was around 2 o'clock, sometime a little less than an hour after I left, that's when the arrests and the suspensions started happening, is what I heard. And one of my classmates from that very same class said that she was there, she saw it happen. And yeah, that was a shocker because the teachers union, I mean, for various reasons, but the teachers union at Columbia is supposed to vote on whether or not the NYPD comes to campus.
Really?
And yes, for anything, for any reason that the administration might believe that the cops are needed, the faculty are supposed to vote on it. And that's a requirement. And apparently the faculty was never asked, so there was no vote. So that was one of the reasons why the following Monday there was a mass faculty protest, because a lot of them were saying it really doesn't matter what the cause is. We need to be asked and we are supposed to vote. And that's part of our contract as faculty on this campus. So I go back, let's see, last Saturday, because I went to go see a play that was on the arts campus, which is north. It's on 129th Street. So it's north of the main campus, which is at West 116th. So I go see a play, and then I figure, you know what? I want to see what campus looks like right now. I go there, and it's about 5:30 because I saw a matinee. It's about 5:30, and I don't know where most of the students are, but the tents are largely empty at that point. And again, everything's still self-contained, not spread all over campus. There's not garbage all over the place, which is something else I've been hearing, but I haven't actually seen piles of garbage anywhere. And so I don't know if it was because it was approaching dinner time that students had left to go eat or do whatever else they were doing for the day, but the campus was largely empty, except I did notice that there were security guards, not cops, security guards at just about every door at every building. I'm talking like side doors, alleyway doors, and they were all from this Apex Corporation, which I'd never seen before, but some private firm.
Mm-hmm.
So that made it feel very tense because I wasn't used to that level of security on campus. I go back on Monday, this past Monday, and that was because I was running errands in the city, and I had wanted to check out City College to see what their encampment looks like. I also went to City College, and it's a public school, right? And it's predominantly immigrants or children of immigrants, first generation college students, a lot of students who are from the city, went to New York City high schools. And it's just a very different vibe there, right? But City College is the flagship of CUNY. It's the main campus. It's in Hamilton Heights. It's in Harlem. It's beautiful. And the encampment there was also self-contained. It was in this one plaza. And I did notice there were way more posters. There was a little free library. There was food and water just out there available for people. And there were students around. And at that point, it must have been about noon. But students were up and they were there. A lot of them were reading, honestly. And then once I finished taking photos of the encampment, I headed back to Columbia. So this would have been the first time that day and the first time since Saturday that I went. So I walked. So by the time I got there, it was about 12:30, and you could already feel how much more dramatic it was and how much more dramatic it was going to get, because that was the day that the president of the university announced you have a 2 p.m. deadline to clear the encampment. And if you don't clear the encampment, anyone who is in the tents is going to get suspended. So at 12:30, there's a grad student making a speech saying it's up to the graduate students to protect the undergrads. Faculty aren't going to do it. They have a couple undergrads who had been arrested and suspended during that initial Thursday roundup come and basically testify about what that experience was like. And then there were all the chants, the slogans, the mantras, singing that started to happen. So I was taking photos of all that. Faculty were in like crossing guard gear with signs that said faculty on their vests. They were
oh my God, like you're in a war zone and it says press.
Yes, they were handing out water. There were many members of the press from just about every kind of outlet you can think of.
Mm-hmm.
From newspapers to TV stations to radio stations, all kinds of websites. And they had on their big press signs and press badges. So everything was very clearly labeled. So the question I kept hearing people ask just in the crowd was, do you think they're really going to clear us out at 2? Or what do you think is going to happen at 2? It's more and more people started coming to Butler Lawn, this main part of campus outside of the library, outside of Butler Library. And so the crowd around the speakers just got bigger and bigger and bigger. at 2:00, at that point, I've been standing around for an hour and a half taking photos, right? And it was hot as like as hot as it had been recently. So it was a little bit of a shock. I don't think a lot of people were appropriately dressed. I know I had on too much clothes, to be honest. So I just took a seat over on low steps, the famous steps you see in all the Columbia photos. And I just started to hang out because I wanted to wait until 2. I wanted to witness. I also had on my sneakers. I knew exactly which way I was going to run. I was feeling well enough that day, like physically capable enough that day, that I figured if something goes down, I was not a part of the encampment. I was not actively participating. They can't suspend me. And if they try and arrest me, on what grounds?
Right.
So I had my exit strategy, right? So I sit down, and the cognitive dissonance was fantastic. There were 5 international students in their cap and gowns, speaking Chinese, all excited, getting their graduation photos taken. There was a photographer just acting like, hey, this is another photo shoot. Meanwhile, more and more students are joining the main plaza, and some of them are doing it to protest. Others are just there as witnesses, like me, whether they're there to document it, take photos, videos, whether they're just there to observe with their own eyes, to be able to tell their grandchildren what happened that day. And then, of course, all the journalists, like I mentioned, and I'd never seen that many news outlets on campus before. And I should mention that as I was sitting on those low steps by the alma mater statue, that's the famous statue on these famous steps. So those kids are getting their graduation photos taken. But behind me, there were 3 young men. I think they were grad students. They might have been seniors, but they looked a little bit too old to be undergrads by my judgment. But they were waving Israeli flags, and they were wearing their kippas. And I was a little bit afraid that someone would come harass them. But honestly, it was not a big fear of mine because I had not seen that on campus yet. Right. I had heard about it. I'd seen it in major outlets like the New York Times and in the president's letter every day, because she started sending out this daily email. She would talk about anti-Semitic language, but I hadn't actually seen it. In the next hour or so that I was at those steps, I didn't see or hear a single student talk to those young men with the flags. I certainly didn't see anyone get up in their faces, shout at them, nothing aggressive.
Right.
And the boys or the young men, anything, they didn't have any kind of chant or song. They were just there with their flags. They were barely waving them because they were big flags too, but they just had them up. So at 2, so many students had come out of buildings to join the protest. What initially happened was they formed a circle around the encampment. And then the circle started to widen, and it got to the point where it was all of the main part of campus, like the heart of campus was encircled by protesters. So there were people like me who were on the steps or on the pedestrian walkway, but we were definitely in the minority. It was mostly people lining, and I have no idea how many people it was. I guess maybe like 2,000, because it was so many people.
Wow.
So many. And when I just think about the distance and try to do the math about, okay, well, they're practically doing Ring Around the Rosie there. That's a lot of people.
Yes.
And it was like a little parade. But again, I didn't see anything that was outwardly hateful. Something that has come up in my discussions with classmates is, well, we need a common definition of anti-Semitism, right? Because
Yes.
there are going to be people who say, if you oppose Israel in any way, then you are anti-Semitic.
Correct.
I have a Fulbright scholar who's from Israel in my classes. This semester I actually didn't have her in any of my classes, but last semester I had her in 3 of my classes, 4 of my classes. And she even gave a presentation this semester the other day about the democratic protests that happened in Israel and how of course there are Israelis who oppose the Israeli government. It's like,
I wondered about that because I've seen them do that, and I'm going, well, if they're protesting in Israel about their own government, does that make them anti-Semitic?
yeah, I mean, it's like here, not everyone agrees with Trump, right?
Right. Does that make you anti-American?
Right. Like, yeah. So there are going to be people who say, well, you're not a patriot.
Right. And that gets overused. That does get overused.
Right. So we need some common definition of anti-Semitism. We have to, there's not even, this Israeli student was saying that the difference in the definition for Zionism in Israel is, there's not even, you can't even call the Zionist movement in Israel the same as the Zionist movement in the United States, right? So when I say I didn't see hateful language or actions, anti-Semitic language or actions, I mean extreme words, right? Like the K word or the H word, or somebody punching someone wearing a yarmulke. I certainly didn't see any of that. Could some of the language about Israel be interpreted as anti-Semitic? I don't know enough about the political situation and the many shades of Judaism that there are, but I do know that many Jews, there are many Jews who are for Gaza, and there are many Jews who say that being for Gaza does not make you anti-Semitic. I don't think I, as a non-Jewish person, should be the one making that call. That seems inappropriate. But I certainly did not see any outwardly hateful language or actions. But I was only there until 3:00, right? And so I stayed there for an hour after the deadline that the president gave, and I have not been back. So I'm getting the daily emails from the president. I'm getting what ends up being more than daily emails from other administrators and other groups on campus.
Oh my gosh.
There are so, that contributes to the anxiety, is the over communication.
It's almost like hyping something, overhyping something up, making somebody almost expect something to happen, even if it does or doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And it just kind of puts it in the back of your mind, like you were like, hey, you know, I didn't really see anything, but it kept talking about it almost like it was imminent.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess that would do that to you. That's kind of what I really wanted to see is that a lot of things that get sensationalized, unfortunately, through the media a lot of times becomes the narrative instead of what's actually going on. And then sometimes the message gets hijacked in the middle of that, where I think folks are losing sight of what the protests were actually about, because Congress comes there and then they do their little 2-step on the steps and, you know, give their stance. And everybody's turning it into, if you're for one, you're against the other. And it was never about that. You know, when people are sitting there just protesting the fact that, now I saw like in your pictures, and we'll show you some of your pictures, but it just seemed more like, I remember being in college. We had a protest at UNC Chapel Hill. My first year there, we had Spike Lee came to the campus and everybody else, because A lot of the African American students were upset because there was no part of our student union that felt like it was inclusive of everyone, and there was calls to have a separate one for African Americans so that they could feel like they actually had a voice on campus. And it gained a lot of national attention. Same thing. I'm a freshman and I'm seeing all these news crews. I'm looking at Spike Lee and everybody like fight the power to the people and no justice, no peace and all of that. And I'm just like, yeah, and I'm sitting there thinking, man, if my parents see me on this camera, they go whoop my ass. But it was peaceful for the most part, but people were loud and demonstrative. And I know you doing journalism and things like that, freedom of speech is definitely important, but making sure that folks aren't crossing that line. And they try to make it sound like a lot of people were crossing the line, or they didn't know if all of these folks were students, or if other people had embedded within the students that weren't students and were egging people on or doing things outside.
Wow. So with this rumor of there being so many non-students, I find that so tough to believe. On Monday, I didn't have my ID. I actually did leave it at home in a jacket pocket. So as I was leaving City College, this was something I realized, and I started freaking out because I really wanted to be present and I wanted to see what was happening. And I figured, well, there's no way they're going to let me on to campus, but let me see what kind of documentation I can pull up from my phone to prove that I'm a student. So I get there and I explain, just like I'd seen other people do, that I am a student. I am currently enrolled. I just don't have my ID. I left it at home. So they wouldn't look at anything on my phone. They actually didn't want to. Like, they would not let me. Instead, the security guard called someone at whatever hub on campus and ran my student ID number to make sure that it was current. And the numbers that we have, they're not just numbers. They have letters in there, and they are so unpredictable that I couldn't just guess like Christine 2024. No, right? Or like Christine 123. No, it's very random. So I gave them the number, and yes, of course it checked out because I am actually enrolled. But it was not even just that one man at the gate. I mean, there were probably 4 or 5 other men right there at the gate, and that's not counting security professionals who were on the other side of the gate and ones who were further along on the street, just not right there. So if I wanted to run in there, they could have easily stopped me. I wouldn't have gotten in. So I just find it so hard to believe that there were multiple non-students. I'm not saying someone couldn't have made it on, but
not at that number that somebody would think.
No. And they just didn't. They had so many of the gates locked and doors locked and so many security guys. It just, it does not seem feasible.
Wow. Now, I heard a lot of folks were sheltered in place, including the faculty and students in the dorms on campus.
Yeah, so they sent us an email. When would this have been? I believe it was Tuesday. That's when it's a little bit hard for me to keep track of time, but I believe it was Tuesday.
I think it was Tuesday. Yep.
It was the night that they arrested 100. Yeah, that Hamilton Hall was taken over. They did send us 2 or 3 emails, and the first one was shelter in place, and they explained that if you are on campus, that's what you need to do. And then it wasn't until I think the middle of the night that they sent another email saying, yeah, don't worry about it, you can stop sheltering in place. And then the next morning, there was another email that said, hey, if you didn't see the other email, we're done with shelter in place. But that only applied to people who were already on campus. And at that point, that would not have been too many people because it's just people who lived in the dorms. So undergrads, grad students don't live in those dorms.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's not really even faculty, more like staff, people who help the students live in the dorms, you know, doing whatever it is they need to do to survive.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. Well, look, I want to put up some of these great pictures that you took, and then you actually put them on your YouTube page. So anybody is watching, you know, I'll have a link at the end of the picture video, and then we'll push it out again. But if you go to Stoddard Says on YouTube or Instagram, you'll be able to find Christine. If you go to her Instagram, you'll be able to click on her links and be able to follow her on all of her different things there. But yeah, I mean, what in the world? That's a lot of tents. And you're right, they're organized.
Yeah, and they were all behind these shrubs. There is a little fence, a short fence that's over there.
What are the gray pallets? What are those right there?
Oh, so the school always sets up for commencement very early. So commencement's not until May 15th. But apparently for years, they've always started setting up a couple of weeks in advance. So they have all these pallets, they have different tent poles, all kinds of supplies that are supposed to go up for commencement.
Well, okay. And is this where they normally stage commencement, where the encampment currently is?
No, it's not. No, I believe it's, well, I should double check, but I believe it's over at Low Library.
Well, it's kind of funny. If you were worried about them doing any violence, you wouldn't want to put tent poles and things like that they could grab a hold of.
Yeah, and I mean, you see the risers. Those risers aren't normally there. They've staged them for commencement.
Yeah. Look at that. Okay, photos by Christine Stoddard. Very nice. Good job, Christine.
Thanks.
I even added some little credits on the end. Look at that.
Thank you.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, like I said, you know, we have been talking about it on the show kind of here and there for the longest, but, you know, we're not right there and everything. And then I started thinking about it. I said, wait a minute, Christine goes to Columbia.
Yeah.
And I said, let me at least reach out and see what the on the ground perspective and point of view is. Because like I said, when you turn on your TV and you have all these news medias, a lot of times you want to make sure that they're not just trying to pull you in with some kind of clickbait and things like that, but you're actually getting some you don't want to get over sensationalized with what's going on for a couple of reasons. You really want to understand why the students are risking expulsions and things like that. What is it that they're really asking? Now, I'm a little concerned with some of the things that they're asking because I get it, but it's going to be kind of hard to ask a university to divest in their investments, because a lot of these are hedge funds that intertwine with things with Israel and things like that they may not even know have connections and stuff. So I understand the demand, but that's not really an easy ask, because it's not like they're directly investing in Israel. They may be investing in hedge funds that have this relationship and that relationship, and they're all intertwined. So
yeah, well, and some of the cultural asks bother me, frankly. Like, one of the demands is that Columbia close its Tel Aviv campus. I don't think that's appropriate. You're trying to close an educational campus,
right?
If we're going to promote cultural understanding, if we're going to try and understand other cultures better, then we should have, and especially if someone's paying for it, why not have a campus there?
And not only that, again, it's the government making these decisions. It's not necessarily the people of Israel.
Yes, or I've heard people complaining that they don't want any kind of Israeli cultural group on campus. They don't want artists. They don't want dance groups. They don't want musicians. If they're Israeli, they don't want them.
That is anti-Semitic.
Yes, that is discrimination.
Mhm.
But that doesn't have to do with the conflict. It's
Right.
the war, right? You're just saying, I don't want an entire group of people present here.
Right.
That's not okay.
That's not okay at all. I mean, you know, I do understand that there are factions that are trying to pull equity and inclusion and diversity out of everything.
Right.
Like that's a bad word or a bad thing now. But that would be no different when you're now trying to isolate who can be around and who can't be around. Now that's an issue. You know, I think at the very bones of it, if you're advocating for people not to die, that's a noble cause. No matter whether it's Gaza, no matter whether it's in any other country, Ukraine, any country where there are wars and everything. If you're advocating for the preservation of life, hey, that's great. That's great. We don't want anybody to die, no matter what the conflict was. I opened the show talking about 4 officers died trying to serve a warrant here in Charlotte. We don't want that. You know, as many issues that I may have with the police, sometimes it doesn't mean that I don't want them to be able to go home at night to their families. We still back the blue. We just want to make sure that they're not sitting there putting knees on people's necks. That's all. Both things can be true at the same time.
Yeah, and it's that like of nuance.
It is
bothersome.
That is. It's like, because when you get to that point, then your message will they'll focus more on the unreasonable things that you're asking for and almost block out the real cause of why you're there. And you got to make sure that your real message is getting through, and you're not letting them take that and run with it and use it to demonize you.
Right.
You know, so that would be a concern. We definitely want to make sure that we understand that it's the government of Israel that a lot of people are having a problem with in their way of handling how they're trying to deal with Hamas and everything that happened on October the 7th. At the same time, being able to show compassion for the reportedly over 30-something thousand Palestinians, Gazans, that have been killed as a result of that. And not only should they worry about Colombia, but if you're really worried about funding, I mean, I think we just sent $26 billion over to Israel. So maybe you should start going up to Capitol Hill and doing some encampments at the steps of Capitol Hill. So, you know, I think that would actually be a lot more meaningful than just sitting on the campus, because there's not really a whole lot that Columbia University or any of the other universities can do when it comes to divesting their interest. But I would definitely say, if you really want to protest, make sure you protest by voting. Mm-hmm. Make sure you protest by being socially engaged and things like that. There's nothing wrong with the encampments, but we do have to move it to different places where we can be more effective and our voices can be heard. People hear you when you vote because they're afraid of your vote. So that's my 2 cents on that. They need to go vote. Take a shower. And then go vote. Lori, you got anything?
Well, I think, Christine, you just as it's great to see you. I know it's been forever, and I always keep track of everything that you're doing. So again, congratulations, success, and all of that. But I guess my main question is, and that's where I've seen on the news, and to see if there were actual agitators, because even on the news at Columbia, because even if you look at the other campuses at UCLA and other things, where they're having, it looked like it wasn't some student, again, based on the optics and the camera views from when they were doing and going in, but they've been really talking about, you know, that a lot of these protests are having interlopers that are coming in that are just starting trouble, that most of the protests were pretty peaceful, just as you were saying.
Right.
But it's just like in adding on this extra violence, even when they were talking about when the police actually came into at Columbia, and then when they went into that hall, they were showing pictures of like the chairs and this one, like things that were destroyed. That
Right.
So that's where I guess that was my question, because just in saying as firsthand and as being as a student, is it really true, or is this just
Yeah.
media hype?
I mean, I haven't. So the last time I was on campus was 3:00 on Monday. So I have not been back. I have seen classmates post social media, like different videos and photos. Almost everyone's on private now. So I'm not going to name names. But I firsthand have not seen anything outwardly violent or hateful. I definitely didn't see anything on campus the last time I was there. And in the videos and photos that I've seen on social media, everything too. And these are classmates who were there, who have been there the past couple of weeks, including at least one of them has been sleeping in one of those tents. I have not seen anything hateful or violent. I have seen like the New York Times coverage and some of the other major media outlets show pictures of the inside of Hamilton Hall, but I certainly haven't seen the inside of Hamilton Hall, so I couldn't tell you what it looks like right now. I do think that if there are some cases of violence and property damage, and I'm sure that some of that is happening, I don't think that should discount the largely peaceful protest. Right. And I don't think that means that the students should have their right to the freedom of speech taken away from them. Correct. I also don't think that even if those bad things are happening, that faculty should not be included in important conversations like, should we bring police to campus to calm this down? That's also highly inappropriate and breaking their contracts if they don't have to say, like, I think again, like nuance, right? It's possible for the bad things to be happening. It doesn't mean that the administration has been making all of the right decisions by any means.
But do you think that because it sounds like the president kind of just jumped into it, because I know that she had been getting outside pressure to do something, or there were going to be calls for her resignation, kind of like some of the other Ivy League schools when they were being brought in front of Congress and they were being made to answer some really, really tough questions. And if they didn't answer it a certain way, then they were going to be called on to resign. And I believe one or two did resign.
I mean, I am sure that pressure is there. I have seen those posters. I have seen those social media posts about
fire the president.
Yes, about how she should resign or how she should get fired. But as one of my classmates said today, her complying with the status quo does not buy her whiteness, right? Like I understand her wanting to protect herself. I understand that she is the first female president this university has. She's the first Middle Eastern president this university has had. And that that's very loaded to be the first and comes with all kinds of pressures. But it doesn't mean that she's doing the right things just by jumping when they tell her to jump.
Going along to get along.
Yeah.
Well, Christine, thank you. That's a lot of good information. I'm going to pivot because, like I said, you got like 18 jobs. And I wanted to mention that you are hosting your Badass Lady Folk show which
Yes.
actually started as a podcast
Yes.
solely. And then I guess you got a hold of is it MHN or
MNN. Yes.
MNN.
Yeah.
And that's right across the street from Carnegie Law, right?
It was over by Columbus Circle, but now it's over on West 38th between 10th and 11th.
They moved the whole studio?
They did move it. Yes. I don't know if it was during the pandemic or right before the pandemic.
Okay.
But yes, sometime between 2019 and 2021 that happened.
Okay.
That.
That's interesting. Tell everybody about your show and
yeah, sure. So Badass Lady Folk started as a talk show at Radio Free Brooklyn. Then I went just podcast, doing it by myself as I could, when I could. And in June of last year, I applied to Manhattan Neighborhood Network to have a video cast, to have it filmed at the studio there. And they approved me in late June, early July, something like that. And I filmed the first episode at the end of July. So now I have about 20 episodes banked, and they are all up on the YouTube channel, at YouTube at Badass Lady Folk. But I'm also uploading them to Stoddard Says, which is my new YouTube channel. I have my dump truck channel, as I call it, the Christine Stoddard channel. That's like everything. And then Stoddard Says is just more curated, like more of my favorite things. Because the old channel, the dump truck channel, I mean, that's like 15 years old. I think 14 years old now. So it really have a lot of stuff. And I don't necessarily stand by all of it anymore. But, I live and learn, right? You have to make some projects just to know what you're doing, just to figure things out.
Right.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I started the Stoddard Says channel, because I want to have a channel that represents things that are my favorite works from over the years, different films and videos and talk shows, and that includes the Badass Lady Folk playlist.
Yeah, and I think you got something new that you just posted, and then you also have your Serena's Gallery and some other stuff.
Yeah. I posted Uncontested, which is a short film that I shot last year, and that took off.
You put 2,000 views. Is that really right?
2,000. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, and that just went up last Saturday at midnight.
I need to figure out how you did that. I've hit 1,000, but I don't know how. And you know what? I got the biggest views on a post I did about how bad the Dallas Cowboys were. I can post about serious things all day long and get modest views. I posted this whole thing of me trashing the Dallas Cowboys, and I had 700 views in 3 days. And I'm like,
wow.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, from the little, I just started this channel less than a month ago, about 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
But I had done some research, and there are so many little tricks, to make sure that you have something scheduled for every week, and not just, I'm going to post on Sundays, but to actually upload it and have it scheduled and set a premiere date for it on YouTube. Or having things go live between 3 and 6 is excellent. That's when people are really watching premieres, or using 3 hashtags in the description, but not exceeding that. And that was something that really surprised me. I thought, I should just load up on hashtags. No, in the description box on YouTube, you should only put 3 to 5, and 3 is better than 5. Mm-hmm. And then when you go into the tags box later on in the show more section or something like that, I'd have to look at it. But
on YouTube Studio,
there you can put up to 15, but they let you put more, but you shouldn't put more. There's just so many little annoying, random things that, it's how some of it almost seems counterintuitive, but.
Well, I'm gonna give that a try, because this is live and it's on YouTube,
Yeah.
it automatically goes live for the entire show. And then a lot of times I may clip parts of the show and then repost it again on YouTube because it's an hour and a half show. Some people may not have a whole hour and a half to watch.
Right.
But as we talk about certain subjects, I can cut it by the subject.
Yeah.
And that type of thing. So yeah, very, very good advice. Y'all, Christine does it all. Like I said, she acts, she does her comedy at the different comedy clubs. But if you go to Stoddard Says on Instagram, anytime she's doing anything, you guys can check her out. You know, me and Lori make it up to New York every now and then, but by then you may not be necessarily, you know, performing anything. And I always hate that. I'm at some point, whether you know it or not, I'm just gonna pop up there. You're not gonna know about it. I'll be sitting in the audience, and then after the show,
I'll be less nervous.
Oh, please. Oh, please. Oh, Lori, I ain't buying it. I hope you ain't either. Y'all, this is the one, the only Christine Stoddard. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Please feel free to come back anytime you want. Talk about anything and let us know anything that you have going on at any time. We would definitely love to hear from you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great night. Bye.
You too. Thanks. All right, Lori. We are going to take a quick break. Go ahead and pull 3 commercials, and I will be back. I'm going to reload some Instagram, okay?
Got it.
Be right back. Introducing Sawyer, Kid Lawyer, Teacher versus Nap Time, a great book that will help your little one with reading, writing, and spelling. Coming from the authors Shanine and Sheldon Muldrow. Please check this book out and support. Thank you so much. Buying a home is one of the biggest decisions that you'll make. Here at Jermaine Parker Realty, we're here to help you navigate through that process. We know that a home is more than just a place to live. It creates memories. Here at Jermaine Parker Realty, we're here to help. Give us a call and let us get started on your journey. Man, all right. Hey, I got it done a lot faster. So I got the hang of it now. So we are back on Instagram as well. So, and we did have some folks on Instagram. So thank everybody for joining. I'd like to give a heartfelt thanks to Christine Stoddard for being able to give us some of her time to let us know what's actually going on the campus of Columbia University, as she is a student there, in addition to all of the thousands of jobs that she does around the New York City area. And that's a lot, because she lives in Brooklyn, and you would think, well, to go from Brooklyn to Columbia University, how long could that actually be? But it's about an hour commute to get from Brooklyn to Columbia. That is Washington Heights, isn't it, Lori?
No, it's Hamilton Heights. So this one, that's
Heights,
Harlem.
yes.
That's Harlem, and then
North Harlem, right?
And then when she was talking about City University, took a few classes there. So as I said, it is both Columbia and City University. It's just that those campuses are just beautiful.
They
So
are. Yeah, I've been to
it's
City
gorgeous.
University for an audition before, and you know the thing I love about New York City, if you are into architecture, it's just amazing. The buildings, they're older buildings, but the architecture of some of these buildings, when you just look outside of them, and some of them are what they're made out of, like whether it's the cobblestone look and all of that. When I was on the City College campus, I was just looking around like, man, looks so historic, and it was wild.
Absolutely.
Totally. I've never been to Columbia. I know where it was because it was like you were going north of Harlem. I believe, if I remember that right. That's why I thought it was Washington Heights, but it's not quite up that far yet.
No, it's not, but it's but the beautiful thing about when you go up on that part of Manhattan, it's a totally different world. And I think, again, adding to the greatness about New York, from little neighborhoods to this way, it's just like you would think that you're like upstate somewhere, or this one, like even the parks, it's totally beautiful. And within a matter
it's not
of
like being in Midtown.
Minutes, right, it's not Midtown, and it's just like getting away from like the hustle and the bustle that's in Midtown Times Square, and then you go up there, or even if you went to, when you were talking about northern Manhattan or even Washington Heights, going to see the cloisters again. Beautiful.
Right.
Beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I really wanted her on, because you watch these reports, whether it's mainstream media or some of these other sites on YouTube and things like that, and they pull in a lot of this reporting. And I get it, reporters got to have a story and things like that, but sometimes when they do that, things get a little over sensationalized. And I wanted the true message of what it was that the students were trying to convey to resonate and get through. And the most part of it is, Lori, the most of the students, there's always going to be people that hijack your cause. When Black Lives Matter was out there marching after George Floyd, were there provocateurs out there in the middle of the crowds doing things they have no business? Some in some ways diluting the message of the protesters? Absolutely. I don't really think they were diluting the message. I think people were looking for a message to be diluted, looking for messengers to dilute it, looking for a reason to say, you see there, that's why they really out there. They out there to burn down buildings and do this and do that and loot and steal and everything else. And the more they talk about that, the less they have to talk about what the real issue was. And, kudos to a lot of the folks that were out there in that movement. They did not let those folks take over that message, and they kept the message in the forefront of people's minds, which is why the right really went full crazy with this whole wokeness, because they realized that they could not control the narrative of what these protests were about anymore. So then they had to pivot and turn it into a wokeness thing and make that a bad thing, just like they try to make the word diversity, equity, inclusion a bad thing. And that's supposed to be a good thing. But it's kind of crazy. So now with this movement, the same thing. The main reason is that they believe that Israel is basically running genocide against Palestinians. Like, they're not going to stop until there are no more Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. They're basically looking at it as an extermination of a race of people, which would be ironic, because that's what Jews faced in Nazi Germany, was the call of genocide and eradication. I do agree with Christine when she said her fellow students were really trying to figure out, hey, I think we need to have a true definition of the word anti-Semitic, because like other things, words get overused and things get added to it that has absolutely nothing to do with the word.
Absolutely. And I think, and I thought, and again, I could be incorrect, but I thought that some type of legislation was passed about, I guess, giving more of a definition of what anti Semitic is. But even with that passage of that legislation, it's still overused because, again, is it just tailored to, and again, I'm just saying that because they're making Israel the boogeyman,
Mm-hmm.
and just in saying, so is this, so this, with this legislation of being anti-Semitic, is it more geared to white, or, and again, there's a lot of theories, but again, I think that they need to kind of close the loop on what we're specifically talking about, because I can sit, because again, it can go in very different various directions, and the message then gets lost in the sauce.
Well, you remember? I'm old enough to remember folks would sit there and be up arms when black people would sit there and in non-black people's minds would attribute everything to race. And what would be the first thing out of people's mouths? Man, why y'all always got to play the race card? Why y'all always got to play the race card? Everything ain't got to be about race, even though it probably was. But that's yes, a whole nother story. But you would hear that. Well, you know, there's a lot of folks out there that would say the same thing is, man, every time you sit there and say, I don't like an Israel in the same sentence, you straight up an anti-Semite. Like, that's all it takes to be an anti-Semite is me to say that there's anything about Israel that I don't agree with. That's not what anti-Semitism is an easy definition. It's an easy definition. Calling for the removal, the eradication of any society is, and in this case, the Jewish culture, the Jewish people, Jewish beliefs, way of life, that's anti-Semitism. Now, are there also tropes that go along with that? Yeah. When people sit there and they start making tropes about Jews run the country, they own everything, and those are tropes that are out there. No different than tropes about black folks like chicken and watermelon. Or, you know, if a black person come to your home and you offer them some purple Kool-Aid. Brian, that's crazy. That ain't the same. Yes, it is. Because it's understood that, hey, if I hadn't been a black guy and I walked in your house, would you have offered me water or would you have offered me purple Kool-Aid?
Or in terms of Kool-Aid, the flavor of red.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I said purple. I said purple.
Right, exactly. But
because if you're from the black community, most people know that black folks do not identify flavors of Kool-Aid as grape, watermelon, red,
cherry,
lemon, cherry, all of that. They just say colors.
Yep, red, purple,
so,
blue.
Give me that yellow. Hey,
give me that yellow.
And the green. So, you know, but that's the thing. So if somebody, non-black, sat there and welcome you in their house and say, hey, you want some purple Kool-Aid? Yes, that's a trope. It don't mean it ain't true, but it ain't true all the time. But it is understood. It's like you know what? I remember, Lori, meeting this lady I worked with years ago at a hotel, and she told me that she don't eat chicken with bones. I was like, well, what do you mean? I eat filet or nuggets or stuff like that. I said, wait a minute, are you trying to tell me that you're a black person and you don't eat actual chicken? And she said, no, I don't like that. And I remember saying to her, I'm going to need your black card at the end of today. That's a joke, but because
that's what you tell me all the time.
Because, well, I mean, look, taking a break from it, saying I want a chicken breast sandwich or something like that, that's different than saying I don't eat chicken with a bone in it at all, ever, full stop, period. Totally different. That ain't the same thing. So when she said that, I was just like, really? Like, well, you can't be black. It's the same thing when I approached you, Lori, and we got into it about the fact that you won't eat grape jelly, and I just looked at you like you're an alien,
or grapes,
or anything
grape
like
soda,
that.
grape soda.
Yeah. Okay, don't rub it in. I mean, you're gonna bring all that back. I'm trying to tuck it in.
There's no need to tuck it in, and actually, continuing, the other day at work, I had a grape soda to just try and remember what it tasted like.
You hated it.
Yeah. Like
See?
I tried. But the thing is, I tried to go back.
No. I know you're trying. Your trying is this. You do like this. This is you trying.
No, I literally drank half. I drank half the soda. Like, I really wanted to sit here and remember when I used to try grape soda, grapes again. Was trying to be like.
And you do recall me asking you for your black card.
Oh, absolutely. You tell me that all the time. All the time.
So, but and while those things can be funny, what Jewish folks understood is that their whole way of life really was on the line. Like, Nazi Germany was really trying to eradicate them off of the face of the earth. There's so many different reasons that people have for feeling that way. All of them are wrong. To then feel like, I don't know if you ever heard this expression, the abused becomes the abuser, but it kind of looks like a situation to a lot of people that now that the Jews have been given the state of Israel, that now they in turn are now becoming the abuser. Now,
and the oppressor.
Somebody's going to say, but Brian, they attacked Israel. They did. October the 7th, 1,200 people were killed. Now, is the response to 1,200 people being killed to then kill 34,000 people? Is the response to 1,200 people being killed to slow aid, bomb aid trucks, cause over 2 million people to now be in a famine? Is it to bomb heavily dense places to take out a commander or two of Hamas, but let thousands die as collateral damage? Those are the concerns. Those are what the students are having their encampments about, because they honestly believe there has to be a better solution to getting Hamas than to letting women and children primarily die for you to continue your war against Hamas.
And also,
or to blame the Palestinians for Hamas's existence as if they had any more power to put Hamas out than anybody else.
Correct. And then you also have to go about and think about the history, especially going on to when Israel, the 5-day war, the history, the talks, the two-state solution, like all of that history and everything on from what they were trying to get, and going on to the point of where Palestinians did not have a choice of having another group represent them. That was it.
And
so
and Laura, I'm sorry, but and a lot of these, over 50% of the population of Gaza are 18 years or younger,
and did not know about
these are not the ones that voted for Hamas
Nope.
to begin with.
Nope.
They were even more children than they are now when all of this took effect. So blaming somebody for, if you even want to call it the sins of their fathers, which that would be a exaggerated way of looking at it. But even if you looked at it that way, you're going to hold these kids responsible for decisions that they had nothing to do with, and tell them that puts them to a death sentence because of it. And you're going to tell me that 1,200 versus 34,000, is there's some kind of equality with that? Look, if you're for Israel, I get it. If you believe that, hey, they have a right to defend themselves. My question is that when somebody stops swinging at you, how much are you really defending yourself anymore? At some point, you can't keep phrasing this as we're defending ourselves. No, what you're doing, you've gone on the offense. Once you've gone on the offense, you're not defending anymore. That's not what the word defend means. Well, now, you can defend yourself sometimes going on the offense, because sometimes it means you have to put somebody down to make sure they don't get back up and try to take you out again. I get that. But there has to be other ways. All you're doing is, Hamas is a radicalized group of people that do not believe that Israel should have sovereign over their people, because to a lot of people, Gaza is an open air prison. They don't control their electricity. They don't control their any of their utilities, including water, anything like that. Things that come into Gaza have to go through checkpoints. If you want to leave Gaza, you have to go through checkpoints, and many times you can't. You've got water on one side, you got Israel on another side, you got Egypt on another side. It's not like you can just freely move in and out of state. Israel will tell you, well, we do that because we for security reasons. Yes. So you'll hear all of that, but Hamas has been radicalized. Not that that's an excuse, but they've been radicalized by the way that they feel that they've been treated. Okay, well, if you get rid of Hamas, but you kill a bunch of Palestinians to go with it, you're radicalizing the ones that live. All you're doing is cultivating Hamas 2.0. Well, which means, and which I think, all honestly, is intentional, because there's a lot of right-wingers in the Israeli government that do not want and never have wanted and will never agree to a two-state solution.
Absolutely. And to your point, and I think on both sides, with Israel and with Gaza or Palestinians, they are both entrenched in their own side, that they believe and know that the other side is intent on their destruction. Mm-hmm. So both parties can't move, and they choose not to move. So now they're just sitting here going to on these opposite sides, to where they're sitting here trying to destroy one another. And it's what in the intent or the message of what needs to be for sovereignty for Israel, sovereignty for God, for Palestine. And this way you can talk about the Zionists. We can go on. But again, both sides are entrenched. And this is where there's no movement. And it's just very sad.
The part that really kills me, Lori, is I understand what the students are fighting for. I'm more sickened and alarmed at the way that our federal government is responding. You know, I've heard people talk about not wanting to vote because they don't agree with things that Biden is doing. I've even heard franchise say that. I get that. I do. But you're right. Your vote does matter. And you know, we can close with how your vote plays a pivotal part in this. Guys, you're not going to agree with 100% of anything that your government does. Okay? Having that kind of expectation, and y'all know I keep it real with you, it's foolish. Even in your everyday relationships, whether it's your spouse, your family, no matter who it is, if you tell me that you agree with 100% of everything that comes out of their mouth, I have a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you. Because you're lying. Nobody agrees with anybody 100% of the time. Hell, you probably don't even agree with yourself 100% of the time. You probably do stuff and you know you shouldn't do it. And you're conflicted. So you're not going to ever vote for people that are going to do everything that you want 100% of the time, say everything you want 100% of the time, walk the way that you want them to walk 100% of the time. Nobody does that. Not your president, not your congressman, not even your preacher and his first lady. Nobody walks the way that you want them to walk 100% of the time, but it doesn't mean that you pull your support back from them. Hopefully what happens is the more you vote, the more you make your voices heard, it has an influence on people, and maybe it pulls them closer to where you are on certain things. Guys, think about this. For the longest, neither party was in favor of gay marriage. Neither party was in favor of a lot of things that are acceptable today. But while some parties have kind of stayed where they are, even moved further to the right, some have embraced certain things that 30 years ago would have been taboo or just simply unacceptable. But that's how society moves. The only thing that I'll present to you guys is that as much as Biden's response to Israel sickens and angers me, do I really believe that Trump would have been any better with it? No way. If anything, Trump would have sent more money, and the sycophants in Congress would have sat there and rubber stamped any check that he wrote Netanyahu. Would have done it. Some of these congressmen talking about take them out, take them all out now. He would have been all behind it. He certainly wouldn't be talking about diplomatic solutions. He wouldn't be talking about, hey, we need to be able to get more trucks and more aid in. He wouldn't be doing that. So somebody's going to say to me, well, Brian, are you saying that I just got to pick the lesser of two evils? Yes. Yeah. I'm sorry. Sometimes it does come down to that. It's not as easy as just saying, I got to pick somebody that I'm 100% in line with. If you live your life like that, you'll be alone because you'll never be 100% in line with anybody all the time. There may be spurts. There may be, point A to point D or whatever the case may be. But there's going to be points when you're not going to be in line with somebody else's thinking. And it doesn't mean that your support is contingent on if I agree with you 100% of the time. When you go to your job, you don't agree with your boss 100% of the time. Did you quit today? No. Why? Because I got to pay these damn bills. There is a greater good. Lori, there's a saying that you're going to get tired of me saying, but I love the saying as long as it's appropriate. Do not let the perfect be the enemy of the good. People look for things to be so perfect that they will walk past something that's decent and good. It's just not perfect. Well, life is not perfect. If you've lived 3 seconds out of your mama's womb, you know that. So why do we have the expectation of our politicians? Now, yes, we need to make sure that folks are in line with what it is that we want them to do, but they have to get there. Things are about evolution, and it is about making sure if I'm a Democrat and I got 2 Democratic candidates, do I want to hear what both of them think so I can figure out which one I'm more aligned with? Absolutely. But even once I choose the one I'm more aligned with, doesn't mean that I'm going to agree with what they think 100% of the time. That's not how life works. And we don't take away our vote, our support. If you did that with your kids, you wouldn't like your kids. You would disavow them. Or at best, you would be a little sometimey. Well, when they do things you like, y'all in their face. When they do things you don't like, you ghost them. Now, who's going to really do that? So again, y'all, that's not what your vote is not supposed to be a weapon. It's supposed to be a shield. It's not the sword, it's the shield. It's you being able to say to the people in power, we are here and we need to be heard. Your voice matters. Speak through your vote. But remember this, when you don't vote, you're also speaking. You're saying, do whatever it is you want. I'm not going to stop you. We tried to do that with Roe v. Wade. We kept hearing, and people keep talking about, yeah, they always keep talking about this is going to be the worst, the most consequential election, here that year after year after year. What you also heard was, hey, if you don't get vote, they're going to get rid of Roe v. Wade. Man, they ain't going to never get rid of that. They ain't never going to get rid of that. 10 years ago, you heard that, and you would have never imagined that in 2024, almost half of the states in this country have anti-abortion laws on the books. Nobody would have thought 10 years ago, we literally have to put this on the ballot and make it plain to these right-wingers that you are not going to tell a woman what and when to do with her body. Nobody would have believed that. Do not take your vote for granted. There's a faction of people that are wanting you to do that. And like I said last week, Lori, if your vote didn't matter that much, they wouldn't fight so hard to try to take it away. Last thoughts?
You wrapped it up for me.
I try. Well, y'all, listen, it was a great show. I appreciate y'all for joining. Tune in every single week at 7 p.m. Like I said, we stream live on YouTube, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, Amazon Fire TV, as well as Roku TV. That's a lot. Make sure that you also subscribe on our YouTube channel as we are pushing for 10,000 followers. It's all under Empower TV Network. Help us be able to get the word out even more and more and more. We appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll see y'all again next week. Y'all take care. Peace.
This a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the